Hey everyone, welcome back for another deep dive with us.
It's great to be here.
So I've been doing a little research into the KCO SPI index lately.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, especially the semiconductor and automobile sectors. They seem pretty hot right now.
They definitely have a lot of potential.
Right, but there's always so much to consider before diving in.
For sure, tons of factors at play. Global economics, politics, you name it.
Exactly. So to help us sort through it all, we've got some fantastic analysis from NH Investment Securities.
Excellent source.
Plus some insights from analysts over at Shinhan Investment Corporation and Daishin Securities.
Can't go wrong with those. I always find their perspectives really insightful.
Me too. And let me tell you, it gets pretty interesting. We're talking trade wars, NVIDIA's performance, potential opportunities in the midst of all this volatility.
Sounds like we've got a lot to unpack.
We do. Now, one thing that really jumped out at me was this talk about the KOSPI potentially being undervalued, particularly in those sectors we mentioned, semiconductors and automobiles.
Yeah, that's a point a lot of analysts are making right now.
But like you said earlier, there are those global waves, right?
Yeah.
What are some of the big ones we need to be watching out for?
Well, the elephant in the room is definitely Trump's trade war.
Yes, the trade war.
It's been a roller coaster, hasn't it? Tariffs on, tariffs off. It's hard to keep up.
You know, the analysts at NH Investment and Securities actually called those tariffs a negotiating tactic.
A negotiating tactic.
It's like he's playing poker with the global economy.
And we're all just sitting here watching the chips fall.
So how does all this uncertainty affect investors? Should we be worried?
Well, uncertainty always makes investors a bit jittery.
Understandably.
Because it makes it harder to predict what's going to happen next.
So less certainty, more risk.
Basically, yeah. And that can lead to some pretty wild swings in the market.
Especially in the short term, I imagine.
Exactly. But here's the thing. Some analysts see this trade war turmoil as a chance to, well, buy low.
Oh, interesting. So like almost a counterintuitive play.
Yeah, kind of. Their thinking is that sectors like semiconductors, which are super important to the global economy,
Right.
they might be getting unfairly punished right now because of all this trade war fear.
So maybe it's a buying opportunity in disguise.
Potentially. But, of course, there's always risk involved. And speaking of risk, we need to talk about NVIDIA.
Oh, yeah, NVIDIA. They just posted some crazy revenue growth, right? But then their future forecast was a little, shall we say, less exciting.
Yeah, a little bit of a cold shower after that hot streak.
Why do you think that's spooked investors so much?
Well, NVIDIA's a major player in the semiconductor world.
Huge, yeah.
So when they signal a potential slowdown, it sends ripples throughout the entire industry.
I see. So is this a sign of broader economic trouble, or is it more of a NVIDIA-specific thing?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
And one we'll have to keep exploring as we dive deeper.
Absolutely. Lots more to come. It's tough to say for sure right now. I mean, it's just one data point, right?
True, true. It doesn't necessarily mean the sky is falling.
Right. I mean, we need to look at the bigger picture, get some more context.
Well, speaking of context, there's something going on over in China.
Oh, yeah.
That could be a big piece of this whole KCO-SPI puzzle. It's called the two sessions.
Two sessions.
I know it sounds super boring and political.
Yeah, not exactly a headline grabber.
But trust me on this. It's important.
Okay, I'm listening. What exactly are these two sessions then?
Well, it's basically this big annual gathering.
Okay.
Where China's leaders get together and kind of set the economic agenda for the year.
Ah, I see. So like a policy roadmap for the Chinese economy.
Exactly. And the analysts are saying they're expecting some major economic stimulus measures.
Interesting. Any specific areas they're highlighting?
Yeah, especially in the tech sector.
Tech, okay. Makes sense. China's been making big moves in that space for a while now.
Right. And there's this buzz about a big push for AI development.
AI, wow. Yeah, that's a hot area globally.
Which could mean big things for certain Korean companies in the KOSPI, right?
Potentially, yeah. Depending on how those AI initiatives play out and which companies are well-positioned to capitalize on them.
And speaking of AI, didn't you mention something about China having their own version of ChatGPT?
Oh, yeah, you mean DeepSeek.
DeepSeek, that was it. What was that all about again?
Well, it's basically China's answer to ChatGPT. A large language model trained on a massive amount of data.
Okay, but what makes it different from ChatGPT? I mean, why should we care?
Well, DeepSeek is specifically tailored to the Chinese language and cultural context.
Ah, so it's like ChatGPT, but localized for the Chinese market.
Exactly, and that's why it has the potential to be such a big deal. You know how ChatGPT has taken the world by storm?
Yeah, it's everywhere.
Well, China wants a piece of that AI pie, and DeepSeek could be their ticket to the game.
So how could this DeepSeek thing impact Korean companies, like SK Hynix, for example?
Well, if DeepSeek takes off the way ChatGPT did, the demand for advanced semiconductors would go through the roof. And that's where companies like SK Hynix come in.
Ah, so it could actually benefit them even if there's a slowdown in other parts of the semiconductor market.
Exactly. The AI boom could offset some of those potential losses.
Okay, so we've got potential bargains thanks to the trade war jitters, plus this possible AI boom fueled by DeepSeek.
It's shaping up to be an interesting time for the Keiko PI, that's for sure.
It is. And the analysts seem to think so too, right?
Yeah, they're suggesting that the current dip, especially if it drops below that 2600 mark on the KOSPI,
Yeah.
could actually be a prime buying opportunity.
So even with all the uncertainty, now is the time to buy.
Well, that's what some analysts are saying. They're particularly bullish on those sectors we talked about earlier. Semiconductors, electric vehicle batteries, automobiles.
But hold on, didn't we say those were cyclical stocks?
We did.
Doesn't that mean they're, like, riskier?
Well, they can be. Cyclical stocks tend to perform well when the global economy is booming.
Okay.
And they can also take a bigger hit when the economy slows down.
So it's all about timing the market, basically.
In a sense, yeah. You want to buy in when those sectors are on the upswing.
But that's easier said than done, right?
It definitely takes some analysis and a bit of gut feeling, but that's what makes investing so fascinating.
Well, fascinating and terrifying all at the same time.
I hear you. But, you know, it's important to remember.
Oh, here comes the disclaimer.
Haha, you know it. Everything we're discussing here is for informational purposes only. We are not financial advisors.
Right.
And this is not financial advice. Always do your own research before making any investment decisions.
Always. Always, always. Because ultimately, it all comes down to your individual circumstances.
Right, your risk tolerance, your investment goals, all of that.
Exactly. So, speaking of investment goals, let's bring it back to you, our listener.
Yeah, you came to us with a question. Is now the time to buy into the KOSPI?
We've explored the trade war tensions, NVIDIA's wobble, the potential AI boom in China.
Right, we talked about those cyclical sectors, the importance of diversification, and of course, doing your own research.
So, given all of that, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, where do you stand now? Are you feeling more bullish or bearish on the KOSPI?
It's a tough call, right? I mean, there are definitely some strong arguments on both sides.
There are, for sure. Like we've been saying, it's a really complex situation.
Okay, but let's say our listener is leaning towards, taking the plunge.
Okay, they want to dive in.
What are some key things to keep in mind besides, the standard do your research stuff?
Well, I always advise against going all in at once.
Yeah, that makes sense. Don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Think long term. Consider dollar cost averaging.
Dollar cost averaging. Now, that sounds a little intimidating, but it's actually a pretty simple concept, right?
It is, yeah. Basically, it means spreading out your investments over time.
So instead of buying a whole bunch of shares at once.
Right. You buy smaller amounts at regular intervals.
Ah, okay. So you're not betting everything on a single point in the market.
Precisely. It helps to mitigate some of that volatility we've been talking about.
Smart. So what else? What other tips would you give our listener?
Well, stay informed. Keep a close eye on those global factors we discussed.
The trade war, for example.
Yeah, that's a big one. It's a fluid situation, so any new developments could impact the market.
Right. And what about DeepSeek?
Ah, yes. China's AI play, that's definitely one to watch.
If that thing really takes off, it could be like a game changer for Korean tech.
Absolutely. It has the potential to be huge. We might even have to do a whole separate deep dive on just that.
Oh, I'm in for that. Sign me up.
Haha, all right, we'll add it to the list.
But okay, back to our intrepid KOSPI investor.
Yeah.
Any other words of wisdom?
Yes, diversification is your friend. Don't put all your money into one sector, even if it looks really promising.
So, a little bit of semiconductors, a dash of automobiles, maybe a sprinkle of electric vehicle batteries for good measure.
Something like that, yeah. Spread your bets, balance out your risk.
Makes sense. Well, folks, I think that about wraps up our deep dive into the KOSPI.
I think so, too.
We've covered a lot of ground today.
We did, yeah. From trade wars to AI revolutions.
It's been a wild ride. Hopefully our listener feels a little bit more informed now.
I hope so. Like we said, there's no easy answer when it comes to investing.
But at least we've given them some food for thought.
Right. Absolutely.
And hey, maybe the next time we deep dive into the KOSPI, they'll be a seasoned investor themselves.
Maybe so. It'd be great to hear their perspective.
Right. Until then, happy investing, everyone.
And remember, do your own research.
Always. Thanks for joining us.